If your board treats your reserve study like a form to file away instead of a tool to actually budget with, your insurance options could be the next thing that disappears. Insurance is getting harder to find and more expensive to keep, and the boards getting squeezed hardest are the ones who got a reserve study, checked the box, and never looked at it again. For years, most boards built next year's budget the same way. Take last year's number, add a few percent, move on. That doesn't work right now. Insurance costs aren't moving in gentle, predictable steps anymore. They're moving in spikes. And a board that budgets for modest increase and gets hit with something bigger isn't just short on cash. They're suddenly choosing between a special assessment, rating reserves to cover the gap, or cutting coverage. And none of those choices age well with homeowners. The boards staying ahead of this aren't guessing. They're building real headroom in the budget for insurance increases before renewal season arrives, not scrambling to find the money after the bill lands. Here's what more boards are running into without realizing why. Insurance carriers are paying closer attention to whether a community has a current reserve study and whether the board is actually funding to it. A reserve study that's outdated or one that was commissioned once and never revisited doesn't just leave your capital planning weak. Increasingly, it's becoming a reason carriers hesitate, limit options, or walk away entirely. The communities still getting competitive attention from carriers aren't necessarily the ones spending the most. They're the ones who can show their financial house is in order. And a current, properly used reserve study is a big part of that picture. This is where most boards lose ground without ever seeing it coming. Plenty of associations have a reserve study sitting in a file somewhere. Far fewer actually build their annual budget around it, adjusting contributions, planning major projects, and using it as the backbone of every budget season conversation instead of a document nobody opens until something breaks. That gap between having a reserve study and living by one is exactly what leaves boards exposed when insurance options start narrowing. Closing that gap isn't a one-time task. It takes someone watching the reserve study, the budget, and the insurance market together every year, not treating any one of them as a box to check. The boards staying ahead of this squeeze aren't doing it alone. They have a partner making sure the reserve study actually drives the decisions instead of just sitting in a drawer. At ManageMax, we know that effective community management is built on transparency and systematic excellence. We provide full-service HOA and condominium management across Southeast Michigan, handling everything from accurate financial reporting to proactive maintenance. Our goal is to reduce the burden on your board while protecting your property values. If you're looking for a partner who values accountability as much as you do, visit us at managemaxproperties.com. Let's build a stronger community together.